My name is Lakshmi Narayan. In today's session, I'll be discussing on forecasting and its methodology and how do we calculate minimum and maximum quantity for a part. Before this, if you have not gone through my previous video on inventory management and its inventory valuation, I request you to please watch that before the session so that you will get the continuity. Click on the link shown here to access the same. In today's session, I'll be discussing on forecasting methods. So let us start. What is forecasting? Forecasting is a method of predicting the future requirement. In our case, it is the number of parts we anticipate for the next month. We cannot sit back and say that we'll let the customer come, then based on the requirement I'll place an order and I will issue the part, because that way we cannot run the business. I have discussed this in detail in previous session. So we need to predict the future, we need to predict the consumption pattern, and we should stock the parts so that as and when customer comes to us, we will be able to sell those parts to them, generate revenue and generate profit. How do we do this? For doing this, we need the data of historical movement. What is data of historical movement? We need data of parts consumed or sold in the previous days. It could be, what is the days? It could be 1 month data, it could be 3 month data, it could be 6 months data, or it could be 1 year data. It depends again on the individual and also the recommendation given by the manufacturer. So is it that sufficient? No. In addition to that, we also should consider the requirement for the future. Like, are there any marketing campaigns we are doing where we are calling set of customer for marketing some of the parts? In that case, we need to consider that quantity also. Are there any campaigns planned? So that are recall campaign, so that we are calling some customer again with the intention of fitting some of the parts. In that case, we need to consider. More importantly, we need to consider the parts required for vehicles which are at different stages of repair in our workshop. If we don't do that, what happens? Based on the historical data and our gut feeling, we plan something and place an order to meet the target. In addition to that, workshop comes with a different set of requirements. We need to place an order for those also that will be excess or more than our requirement. In that case, what happens? Every month, some portion of the inventory what we have procured will sit idle in our workshop. So over a period of time, this keeps accumulating. It goes to from fast moving to slow moving, and then it may sit as a dead inventory in our warehouse. So to avoid that, we have to be very careful in planning. So this in forecasting is very critical for managing an efficient inventory management. Now, which are the methods? There are two methods normally followed. One is simple average method. Another one is weighted average method. Let us understand what difference it makes, where it can be used and all. Please go through the table displayed on the screen. In the table, I have given consumption values of last 6 months. That is from July to December. Again, I am considering the example of an oil filter. So when you look at this table, we can see that in the month of December, 13 quantity of oil filter is invoiced. In the month of November, it is 9. In the month of September, 7. August, it is 15. June and July, it is 88. When we calculate the total number of filters sold in last 6 months, it is 60. How do we calculate an average consumption per month? Because these are the values for each month, correct? When we have to calculate the average consumption per month, we need to divide the total by number of months. That is 60 divided by 6, which gives a value of 10. As per this method, the number of oil filter required for the month of January will be 10. In this method, it has certain limitation. What is that? It is very well suited when the consumption pattern remains constant or uniform throughout the year. For example, oil filter, fuel filter, brake pad, they are consumed regular moving item which will have a trend, because we know on an average what is the number of vehicles we are attending for this kind of repairs, and we can follow this method to calculate the requirement for future also. There will not be much variation. When there is a variation in the consumption, so when you look at the table, in the month of June it was 8, August it was 15, again December it is 13, September it is 7. So it is moving up and down. In such cases, we follow a method called weighted average method. In this method, we give weightage for each month. When you look at this table, I have given a weightage of 30% for December month, 25% for November month, 20% for September, and 15% for August, and 5% for June and July. The logic here is we need to decide what will be the pattern for the next month. So in this case, I have given more weightage for December, November and September, because I feel that the consumption in the month of January will be in line with last 3 months. Even though the consumption in the month of August is 15, I have given only 15%, because I know that there was some activity or some campaign was planned, and because of that the consumption has gone up. After that it is not stabilized, it has again gone down. So like this, by varying the weightage for each month, we get a different recommendation for the next month. So how do we calculate? We are multiplying the weightages against the quantity sold in each month. Now when you look at the table, it is 30% on 13 that is sold in the month of December. The next recommendation for next month is 3.9. When I multiply 25% weightage on 9 quantity invoiced in the month of November, it is 2.3. Like this, every month I multiply, and then when I add all those data, I get a recommendation of 11 quantities for the month of January. So in addition to that, if you know the future that you will get some additional requirement, that quantity also you can plan and consider it. You can finalize your order. In nowadays, because almost all the manufacturers have inbuilt this logic in the dealer management system. What the parts manager has to do is he has to download the data, fine tune it, and then he has to place an order. Now we have understood how to calculate the average consumption per month. So that is not sufficient. We need to go one step ahead, and for each part number we need to calculate the minimum and maximum quantity required for a part. How do we do that? So if you have to calculate the average consumption per day, then what we need to do? We need to divide the average consumption per month by either 30 days or 20 days. 30 days is by considering the number of days in a month. If you consider that I will consider only the working days in a month, then you have to divide it by 26. So you get an average consumption per day. So that will be the base for next calculation. So with this, now let us calculate the minimum and maximum quantities for a part number. If you have to do that, we need certain parameters. Let us see one by one. First is review period. What is a review period? It is an interval between 2 reviews. That means if I am doing an analysis of parts today, and my next review will be next Monday, because considering today as Monday, if it is 7 days, that means next I will be reviewing the parts on next Monday, and then I am placing an order. So whatever parts I am having in our inventory should be sufficient for the next 7 days. In between, it should not go out of stock. So considering average consumption per one per day, we need to have 7 quantity of part during this week period. When I am placing an order on next Monday, then again I need to consider the time required to receive those parts in inventory and adding up in the system. That is called lead time. So lead time, what is lead time? Lead time is the time interval between submitting an order and receiving those material in our system. It is not just receipt at the dealership, because if we are taking additional a day or two for receiving those material in our system, till the time we will not be issue the parts. Hence, it is recommended to consider the time interval between submitting an order and receiving the material in our system. As we discussed in the previous session, it depends on certain parameters like what is the order frequency, or what is the what is the distance between the supplier and the dealership, which are the days they process your order. So like that, it again lead time varies from dealer to dealer and workshop to workshop. In our calculation, let us consider as 3 days. That means if I place an order on Monday, I will get those materials by Thursday. That means I should have parts in my inventory till I receive fresh stock also. That means 7 plus 3. I must ensure that I have 10 quantity in my stock. Next is, what is the guarantee that we get all the materials all the time and within 3 days only? There could be any unexpected delay because of certain unavoidable circumstances. Probably the part is not available with the vendor. There is a breakdown of vehicle en route. There could be some strike somewhere in between. So for unforeseen situation, there is a delay in getting the material. Again, in such cases, we should not go out of stock. So we should have sufficient stock also. That is called emergency stock. So again, emergency depends on various parameters which were discussed in the previous session. So I must have 7 plus 3, 10, and then 5, 15 days of stock. This is called minimum quantity or minimum stock level for a particular part. Now we need to calculate maximum quantity. So for that, we consider the value of parts. Now, last session we discussed that the material or inventory is categorized based on movement and the price. Now this movement is considered for calculating the minimum quantity. For calculating the maximum quantity, we consider price of the part. So last session we also have seen that the parts are categorized into high value items, medium value items, low value items. What is the value or bracket for considering it as a high value? Again, it depends on the manufacturer too. It depends on manufacturer, and it may vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. Now, it makes sense for us to optimize the sources. When we know the breakup of inventory, it makes sense for us to optimize it. How do we do that? Instead of ordering the high value item for a complete month and blocking the fund as well as warehouse space, we can break it into weekly consumption and place an order. This will help us to optimize the resources. So instead of blocking the entire fund for by placing an order for 1 month, I will place order for the parts which is required for next 1 week. Then what happens? Based at the end of next week, I will see what is the consumption and what is the quantity available. Then again, I will place an order for one more week. Like this, I am optimizing the resources. So in this example, let us consider that all high value items I plan 1 week only, 1 week inventory. If it is a medium value parts, then probably I will review it once in 15 days. If it is a small value item, I'll assume that I will review it once in 30 days. These days it can vary from dealership to dealership. I am for explaining the concept, I am considering 7 days for high value item and a review period of 15 days for a medium value item and review period of 30 days for low value item. Now we have already considered the minimum quantity required. Now to calculate the maximum quantity, we need to add this. What is the review period of high value item, medium value and low value item? Let us see this. Look at the table there. I am adding all high value item, that is 7 days, to minimum quantity, that is 15 days. So what is the maximum quantity we require? That is 15 plus 7 is for 22 days. Considering an average consumption of 1 per day, we can have minimum as 15 and maximum as 22. When it comes to medium value parts, the minimum remains same, that is 15. So plus 15 days review period for medium value item, that means 15 plus 50 is 30 days. So maximum quantity for medium value will be 30 days. For low value item, it is 15 days plus 30, 45 days of stock we can have it. That is the maximum quantity. Now how are we optimizing? Instead of ordering the parts every week or once in a month ordering a huge quantity, now we are reviewing all high value item and placing an order once in a week. In addition to that, once in 15 days, we are reviewing the movement of medium value parts and placing an order. Once in a month, we review the complete inventory and we place an order. So like this, we are optimizing the resources. So this will help us to plan our inventory. We will also come to know in case of any change in the movement, in case of any change in the demand. So all this we will come to know and it will help us to maintain an optimum inventory. Continuing our discussion, let us understand some of the KPIs monitored in retail parts operations. What is KPI? The full form of KPI is Key Performance Indicators. Some other manufacturer also call it as KRA, that is Key Result Areas. These are the indicators which give status of our inventory. What is the health? How are we maintaining the inventory? So these are the indicators which gives us the status of inventory, or it gives us the health of inventory. Before getting into the KPIs, let us understand simple pricing structure. What are the terminologies used in pricing? When we place an order on the manufacturer or vendor, the manufacturer invoices to us with some price. So that price is called dealer net price or net dealer price or purchase price. That price may include cost of the spare parts, cost of packing, cost of transportation, cost of transit insurance, all. Or all these charges may be additional. That whatever we are paying, that could be only for the cost of spare parts. In either cases, this value is called as NDP. When we are placing an order, we make payment on this price only. Please go through the table displayed on the screen. In this example, I am paying as a dealer, I am paying 75 rupees for purchasing the part. Here the NDP will be 75 rupees. When manufacturer is invoicing that part to a dealership, not only they are charging the cost of spare parts, in addition to that, they are also charging GST on that. So what is GST? It is goods and service tax. As of now, there are 4 slabs. The GST rates are 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. The tax on the parts depends on the HSN code. What is HSN code? It indicates the material from which the spare part is made of, and tax depends on the HSN code for each part number. In the example I have shared, I have considered highest slab of tax, that is 28%. So what is 28% of 75 rupees? It is 21 rupees. When manufacturer invoicing this part to the dealership, they charge 75 plus 21 rupees. Total value will be 96 rupees. This is called invoice price. This is the price we are paying to the manufacturer for purchasing that part. When it comes to our inventory, then we add our margin to this particular part. In the example shared, I am considering 25 rupees as the margin for dealer. This margin vary from part to part, and also the margin structure varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. In this, as I told you, I have considered 25% or 25 rupees as margin. When dealer is selling this part to the customer, they are selling at 100 rupees, 75 rupees purchase cost plus 25 rupees their margin. So total will be 100 rupees. This 100 rupees is called as list price or retail price. When dealership is selling to the customer on chargeable basis, they again charge tax on that. Again the tax is 28%. 28% on 100 rupees will be 28 rupees. So the customer end up paying 128 rupees for this part. So when we add tax to the basic retail price, or it is also called list price, we call it as MRP. Now, where we are using these terms, whenever we are getting settlement through warranty, goodwill, or in all campaign parts, most of the manufacturers settle all the parts replaced on customer vehicles at DNP. In addition to that, they may reimburse additional charges also, like 2%, 3% for as handling charges to the dealership. When we are charging to the customer, we are charging at MRP basic. We may offer some discount on that. That is a different topic. But on an average, or in general, when we are selling parts to the customer on chargeable basis, it is at MRP. Now let us see the KPIs, what is monitored in spare parts operations. First and foremost is stock to VOR ratio. Stock VOR ratio could be monitored on 3 different parameters. First is the number of orders placed. Let us take an example that one particular dealership places 100 orders on manufacturer in one calendar month. Out of those 100 orders, 20 orders are through VOR, 80 orders are through stock order. So what is the ratio here? The ratio of stock to VOR is 80-20. When you look the same number of orders in terms of value, assume that they have placed an order for 1 crore worth of parts. Out of this, if the value of VOR is 35 lakhs and value of stock order placed is 65 lakhs. Now what is the ratio? The ratio of stock to VOR is 65:35. When we look at the number of line items, assume that they have placed an order for 500 line items. Out of 500 line items, they placed 100 line items by VOR and 400 line items by stock order. So here what is the ratio? It is again 80-20 ratio. Like this, we can monitor this ratio in 3 different ways. So always the effort should be to minimize the VOR orders, because we have seen, we have discussed in the previous session that when we are placing a VOR, the dealership ends up paying additional amount, or they have to observe certain cost. That is the reason we as far as possible, we need to place all our orders through stock order. Now, what are the indication, how it is monitored? When we monitor the trend over a period of time, let us say it could be 6 months or it could be 1 year. Always the stock order should increase and the VOR order, where percentage share of VOR order should come down, either by value and by number of orders. Because if we are placing more number of VOR orders, that means our forecasting is not proper, because what we are stocking is not in line with what is the requirement from the workshop. That is the reason we are facing situations where the required parts are not readily available in our inventory, and to procure that we are placing more VOR orders. Second is stock turnover ratio. What is this ratio? It is the ratio of total value of part sold in last 12 months divided by average inventory value in the same 12 months. What is considered for the sales? In the example shared on the screen, you will find the value of parts sold every month. So when you add all the value of all 12 months, we get a figure 1340. When you take an average of all the inventory value on the last day of the month, it comes around 223. So as per this formula, when I divide 1340 by 223, we get 6. What is this? It is a stock turnover ratio. That means what? We are rotating our inventory 6 times in a year. Basically, it is a financial parameter, and this parameter is used for many business calculations, how effectively we are utilizing the fund. So for that, this calculation is used. So if you are rotating our stock 6 times in a year, means we are holding an inventory of 2 months. Again, here what is the recommended? There is no hard and fast rule. The more we rotate our inventory, we can operate with lesser fund. That much I can say. Because as we discussed in the last session, again, whether we need to go with a lean inventory or high inventory depends on so many parameters. So considering that, and also the manufacturer will give certain guidelines, so it is always recommended to follow those guidelines and maintain the parameters within that. Now what does that indicates? If the stock turnover ratio is very high, let us say 12, that means we are operating with 1 month of inventory. If the stock turnover is low, for example, I gave you an example of 6, that means we are having 2 months of inventory. If the stock inventory turnover ratio reduces further, that means we are holding more inventory which is not required. It is blocking our resources. There we need to work out, identify which are the parts which are staying in our inventory, which is not moving. So otherwise, are we placing additional order to meet the target and keeping it in our inventory without any movement? That could be the reason. The next parameter is service level. What is service level? Again, it is a ratio of the number of line items and the quantity issued in the first instance against the quantity and the number of line items requested by workshop or customer. What does that indicates? It indicates the preparedness of parts department to understand the market requirement, keep the parts in stock so that as and when there is a requirement, it is handed over to the workshop or customer immediately so that we can generate a revenue and profit from that. Let us take an example to understand in detail. And today morning, 10 o'clock, workshop team comes with a request of 10 part numbers, one quantity against each part. When it reaches the requisition, reaches the hand of spare parts team, they check the stock availability. They realizes that out of 10 parts, 6 parts are readily available off the shelf. 2 parts are in the transit and it is expected by around 2:30, 3 o'clock on the same day. And 2 parts are not available. And if we place an order today, I am sure that by tomorrow we get those parts. So accordingly, we communicate this to the workshop team that 6 parts are available. You start your work. By the time you complete this, I will give you additional 2 parts by afternoon. And tomorrow afternoon, I will give remaining 2 parts. In this case, what is the service level? The service level will be 60% only because only 6 out of 10 parts were readily available in our inventory. Now, what is ideal? What should be the service level? If the service level is high, that means our forecasting is correct. And also, it has no relation. That means even I might be having a high inventory, so my service level is good. I am stocking all the parts, whether it is required or not, whether it has a movement or not. So then also my service level will be high. Or I am operating with a lean inventory, but I am stocking. My forecasting is very good. So I am forecasting the requirement in the next month and I am keeping only those parts which are required by the workshop or the customer. So that also could be the reason. Okay. So in overall, it indicates the preparedness of or the the preparedness of parts team in predicting the requirement and keeping it in our stock. Next one is aging of parts. When we are having 1 crore worth of inventory in our warehouse, we need to know the age also. What is the age of parts? How do we calculate age? How many days back we purchased this material? It can be traced by GIN date or invoice date from the manufacturer. So what is the value of parts which were purchased in last 1 month? What is the value of parts which were purchased in 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 18 months, 2 years? So like this, we should be able to identify the aging of each part. What is the use of it? We know which segment is occupying our inventory. So again here there is no fixed guideline. It is always recommended that the maximum inventory should be from the last 3 months, 1 month or 1 to 3 months. Then only you are procuring only the required parts. Otherwise, if you are holding parts beyond that also, then what is that indication? You are procuring something which is not required, or you are ordering the parts in excess quantity. Even though the movement is there is additional quantity lying in our inventory. So this is an indication. So, and also if you don't act on the parts which are more than probably 6 months or 1 year, depending on what is the guideline given by dealer management as well as manufacturer, all these parts will sit idle for a period of time and then it will be called as dead stock. Then what happens? The possibility of selling those parts will be very remote and dealership ends up scrapping those parts at their cost. So it is very essential to track this also. Last one is dead stock. What is dead stock? It is the value of parts which are lying in our inventory without any movement for a considerable period of time. What is that period? Whether it is 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, again depends on the manufacturer. Certain manufacturer will say that if the part is lying in your inventory for more than 1 year, it is considered as dead stock. Certain manufacturers will say if it is lying in your inventory for 2 years, it is considered as dead stock. Whatever it is, as based on the guidelines given by the manufacturer, we should monitor. Again here, what is the recommendation? It is if you are able to maintain the dead stock value of dead stock parts in our inventory less than 1%, then that means it is a big achievement. It's a continuous activity. So we cannot say that now I have cleared everything, we have launched some scheme or we have scrapped by taking approval of management and it has become zero. But after 6 months, again there will be accumulation. Whenever the dead stock percentage is high, we need to add and two things. One is how do we liquidate or how do we sell the parts which are available in our inventory. Second thing is what are we doing to avoid accumulation of parts in our inventory. What are the changes, what are the improvements we are doing in current ordering, because whatever excess we place an order today, that will reflect as dead stock item over a period of time. It will immediately, we will not come to know. So it is a continuous activity. Now again, what are the reasons for dead stock? That we will discuss in the next session. With this, I am ending my session for today, and I will be back with topics like warehouse management, essentials of a good warehouse, storage methods, and also best practices in retail parts operations in the next week. Till then, I wish you all the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much.